Hi, I'm Kathy Lindsay. Welcome to FPB's Meet the Candidates. This Cable 10 program allows you, the viewer, to hear directly from our candidates. We've gathered questions from the community, and now we get to hear the candidates' views on issues that are important to us. This is all leading up to the primary election, which is on May 17th this year. We're very excited because today's guest is James Bo Sutherland, and he is the candidate for magistrate for the 3rd District in Franklin County. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's just jump right in. I'm
do
going to
it.
call you Bo, okay?
That's fine.
All right. So, Bo, why don't you just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and why you've chosen to run for magistrate.
Okay. My name's James Bo Sutherland. I own the Elkhorn Campground here in Frankfort in the 3rd District. We're in our 35th year. We've got the one of the highest rated parks in the nation for private parks. I'm running for the same reasons that I ran 4 years ago, and that's to continue to work on getting us a convention center that I think we desperately need. We're the capital city, we deserve one, and we should have one. It would benefit all the high schools for graduations, and it would bring in a lot of revenue. We lost the NAIA several years ago because of the when they tore it down. 4 years ago, I sat in this chair and I said, at that time they hadn't torn it down yet, that we need to start planning now, so when they do tear it down, we would have a plan in place. Here we are 4 years later, and there's a plan in place, but who knows when it's going to get built. I wanted it built ready to go when they tore it down, so we'd have a plan in place, but it didn't happen, so I'm running again because I want it. Okay. I think Frankfort needs it.
Okay. Well, can you tell, for people who may not know you, just talk a little bit about your experience and how you think that relates to it'd be good to have on the court?
Well, like I said, I've owned Elkhorn Campground along with my sister and my wife, not for 35 years. We're second generations. We bought it from our parents in 2001. And we've done several upgrades. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've upgraded our park. We spent a little over $350,000 on infrastructure in our park. So we believe in Franklin County, or we never would have invested that kind of money. With my business sense, having a nationally recognized campground, I think I would be a perfect fit for physical government.
Okay. Well, the seat that you're running for is currently held by Michael Muller, and he's not running for this seat again because he's going to be running for county judge. So inevitably, there's going to be a new person holding this seat.
That's correct.
So do you feel like new blood is important? Are there advantages to having new blood on the court?
Oh, definitely, because it brings in new ideas. Coming in as a new person, I mean, I have some plans that I would like to see implemented. One is to lower our property taxes. We've got the highest property tax rate than any county around us by far. Economic growth, and I think in tourism, right now, that has exploded. My business last year saw an increase of 25%, and it's only going to get better according to everything that I've been reading. That's one area. I'd like to see some community leaders come together to find ways to get new money into Franklin County, and not rely on the old standard procedure of when you need $250,000 raise the property tax.
Well, we're going to talk about all that stuff. Those are great things to be interested in, because those are things that are facing the fiscal court right now. Lowering the taxes, spurring economic growth, bringing new revenue in. That's all very important.
Yes.
So part of being on the court means that you're going to have organizations coming before the court that need money, asking for money. needs for the homeless, the Humane Society, the schools, expansion of broadband, things like that.
Senior citizens.
Absolutely. So how will you handle those requests, and what are your priorities for investments in our community?
Well, my priorities, like I just stated, is to focus on one area, which would be tourism. We have to, Buffalo Trace had over 330,000 visitors last year. I'd say a small percentage of those stayed in Frankfort. They would stay in Lexington or whatever and drive in, and then they would tour the Buffalo Trace and then leave. My goal is to try to get those people to stay here, but in order for us to do that, we've got to branch out and we've got to offer more things for families and stuff like that to keep them here or bring them back.
Yeah.
And one of those, I think the master plan on the Lakeview Park is on the right track for that.
Okay. Well, that is in my line of questioning today, so we'll just go on and hop to that for the moment. As you know, in our community, we have two different park systems. In the city parks, they have their parks master plan, and in the county, there's the plan for Lakeview Park. How do you feel about the possible having those two departments merge in order to create more efficiency?
Well, I'm a firm believer that it would be really great if we could just put a board together of city and county to run the park systems. I think that would be a great idea because at the end of the day, it benefits both parties.
Yeah.
So
if you had a chance to look at the park plan for Lakeview?
I have. A lot of people don't understand that park plan is 300 some pages.
Yeah.
Is
it something you support? Are you excited about it?
I do. I'm real excited about
it.
For one, it has a convention center.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. And based on the projected revenues from the professionals that done that, if we can build all three phases at one time, at the same time, you're talking $1 million every year for the first 6 years.
Well, and that's important when you're looking at a project like this, is it does cost money.
Yep.
Even though, there's a possibility that it'll bring money in later, but it costs money to get it here and get it built.
Exactly.
So being on the fiscal court, you'll have to make decisions as far as how that gets paid.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you see that would be preferable?
Well, just like the master plan talks about it, it talks about partnerships, sponsorships, names on the convention center and ball fields, and I'm in favor of the tourism tax that they talk about, and if I fall back to what my opening statement was, let's get a group of the community leaders, bankers and all that, and let's sit down and figure out where else we can bring in new revenue. And that alone, with the economic impact, they're talking about that $1 million is just on what the park is going to bring in.
Right.
That's not counting motels, restaurants, and all that. So, at the end of the day, I think once it gets built, it's going to more than suffice to take care of itself.
Okay. Well, you're a parks guy. You own a park. So I'd like to hear from you what you think our community needs at our parks.
We need more family time. We push family time out to campground. All of our activities that we plan throughout the year is family time, family togetherness. And if you have the expanded splash pad park at Lakeview Park that's in the master plan, that's countless hours of family time. Because without family, you have no community.
Yeah. Okay. Well, part of our conversation that we've had today, you've talked about the need to, bring in some new revenue. Economic development is just super important here in our community, as it is everywhere right now. So, but everybody has their different idea what that means. So, how would you define economic development?
For me, economic development would be more jobs coming in, recreation, outdoor hospitality is what it's referred as. Anything like that. You've got Elkhorn Creek, which is one of the best streams in this side of the Mississippi to canoe when the water's up. There's potential there that we're lacking. Since they've taken out Jim Beam Dam, I mean, it's just grown astronomically on my end, because it starts out where I'm at. I mean, there's just so many opportunities to bring in more and keep people here. Lakeview Park, the master plan is talking about, rails to trails, and there's one that leads right down to Elkhorn Creek. So, yeah, I mean, the only reason I know more about recreation because that's what I'm in.
Right.
Get outside of recreation, bringing in jobs. You bring in a new company that hires 400 employees. Well, that's good for the occupational tax, but half of those is going to live on the other side of the county line because our property taxes, 18 point some percent. The closest one to us is Anderson County, 12.2.
Okay.
So, let's
How can we become more competitive?
lower our property tax rates, I believe.
Yeah.
That's my belief. And keep the people that's going to work here in here.
Okay. For a while now, we've been hearing about like comprehensive plans, master plans, strategic planning, which is super important. Planning is important when you're trying to get something big accomplished, but at some point you have to take action.
Right.
So, what actions specifically, if you were elected, would you propose that the county government take in order to bring in more jobs that are family sustaining?
Right. Move quick on the master plan at the Lakeview Park would be a priority, I think. Working on getting new money in to the county so we can level out our property tax and continue to support our infrastructure, our firefighters and our sheriff's department. Because I'm a firm believer that you pay property tax for those two things specifically, because to me, when I pick up the phone and call 911, whether it's for an emergency that we just had out at the campground here the other day or a sheriff, I want them there. I want them to have the best equipment that they can possibly have to keep them safe, because at the end of the day, they're keeping us safe, and make sure that their pay is equal to the surrounding counties.
Are you familiar with KCDC, the
I am.
Kentucky Capital Development Corporation? What do you see as their role? How do they fit in with the economic development vision here for our community?
I think the KCDC, needs to narrow down to just focus on industry, and not 20 jobs here, 10 jobs here. I think their role should be more focused on the industry and bringing in manufacturing jobs.
Okay.
or big jobs.
Sure. Would you, if elected, would you support the fiscal court's continued funding that they give to KCDC?
Yes. Now, I don't know exactly what all's going on at that point other than what everybody reads in the paper.
Sure, same here.
So, I don't know if there's issues there. I would seem to think there might be. What those issues are, we don't know.
Okay.
But I think at the end of the day, they've got a quorum now. So, and I'm sure they'll have some guidance on how to go about implementing what city and county wants. There needs to be more openness with the county and the city. I'm all for, they're pushing now, I think, to try to have like one meeting every so often with the city and county.
Sure.
I think that's a wonderful idea, because at the end of the day, it benefits everybody.
Right. And that kind of leads me to another question that it's the question we ask every time, is that, do you think it's time to revisit the issue of a merged form of government?
I'm not for or against merge, just for the simple fact that there's a lot of issues that would have to be worked out, put on paper, because at the end of the day, it affects a lot of city employees, county employees. Is a county employee going to lose his job because, say, fire chief, you've got two fire chiefs. If you merge, you're only going to have one fire chief. What's going to happen to to those people? Because you're not just talking about a job, you're talking about families. And we all know, we all got friends that work, for the county. At the end of the day, it's came up twice, and it's been voted down. So, I'm not for or against. I'm not going to advocate for or against. I'm neutral.
Yeah.
Until we can see what it's going to affect on paper.
Sure. So what can be done if it doesn't happen? And you've talked about the need of working together. What can be done to have both forms of government?
Cohesive.
Both cities, and county government work together more efficiently.
Yeah. The meetings.
Yeah.
Let's have more meetings together. Let's talk about their issues and our issues,
Okay.
and where can we come together to work out those issues? Because at the end of the day, like I said, it benefits all.
Okay. So we've been talking about economic growth and development of areas. Do you want to talk about Buffalo Trace?
We can.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do
Yeah.
that. As most people in our community know, Buffalo Trace has proposed expansion into the Peaks Mill area, and this would be bourbon warehouses. So, are you in favor of allowing bourbon warehouses to be built in what is now zoned as agricultural and rural residential areas?
Yeah. I'm not, my business is, my big draw for my business is Elkhorn Creek. Mm-hmm. So naturally, I'm going to protect Elkhorn Creek. And anything that goes on at Peaks Mill, I've read the same stories that everybody else has in the paper and everything. It's a unique community. It's prestige out there. Mm-hmm. And would I support them moving out there? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But because when I vision warehouses out in the county, the first ones that pop up are the ones down on Big Eddy Road when you go down through there.
Right.
And of course, that's 50, 60, 70, 80 years of warehouse sitting down there.
Right.
And those are still being used, I believe, for Jim Beam product. So I don't think that's the right place to go.
So are you aware, are there any other industrial areas that could be proposed for those to be housed?
No, and that's where KCDC comes back in.
Yeah.
And planning and zoning. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get warehouses built, but they keep getting shot down in industrial parks, which if I lived out in that area, I'd have my issues too.
Right.
At the end of the day, I don't know the answer from me, but I'm sure that there's enough minds in this county that could figure it out.
and that's where it comes down to. And I talk to a lot of people about, the different sides of everything. And as we're seeing, Buffalo Trace isn't the only development project. In front of the fiscal court, they're looking at the possible rezoning of Duncan Road.
Yeah.
Now they're
that just got tabled.
Yeah. And they're looking at, an expansion, a project out on I-64, out by 127. So that people have, a concern about that as well, that there are better places to put something like that. So how do you determine? Some people think it comes down to development versus preservation.
Right.
And so which is more important to you?
Both. You're going to have to work hand in hand.
How do you find that balance?
The only way, the only place that I see in Franklin County that can be expanded right now is exactly where it's headed.
Yeah.
Out 127 towards Lawrenceburg. Mm-hmm. That's where all of the land is and all that. Now you got to take into consideration, people that's bought their dream homes out there. They weren't expecting it to come to them. In the time. You're going to have to find a happy medium. Where that happy medium is, I don't know. It's going to have to be developed with greater minds in mind on how we're going to have to do it. But, it's going to happen. When it's going to happen is up to us.
So, in talking about these development ideas and proposals, sometimes you'll hear the term smart growth. So what do you feel like the definition of smart growth is?
JW, about 6 or 7 months ago, brought up the about our planning and zoning on how it needs to be, changed around to similar to like what Lexington's got. You've got a shopping center with, housing around it, in that area. I would like to see, I'm kind of leaning towards that because that benefits each section of wherever this takes place, and that keeps, you from having to travel across town to Walmart. You may have Walmart, close to you. It seemed to work for Lexington. Of course, Lexington's a lot bigger than us, so. There's just a lot of things that's going to come into play that's going to have to be changed, because I'm all for moving this county forward instead of staying status quo.
Okay. Well, as part of that, moving Frankfort forward, a lot of people think that means, growth and development. And again, with these plans that are in front of the court and in front of the city commission, there are people in the community who have concern about sprawl. And so do you have a plan that would address the need to infill? We also have a lot of empty storefronts and shopping centers.
We do.
So what's your plan for that?
At the end of the day, I mean, if you have, like on the 127 on the west side of town, you have the old Walmart that was that's over there where Ty Smile is. That building, has been sitting vacant. It's hard for another department store to come into that building because Walmart left because they wanted something bigger and more accessible. If it was me, if their building sat empty for 5 years, tear it down, make a green space.
Yeah.
Instead of having it setting up. But the owners of these buildings, and I don't know what planning and zoning can do if we need to implement. If a building sits empty for so long, if it's not going to be used, let's tear it down. Make it green space for the next builder that comes in and says, hey, I'll take that spot.
Right. You're a business guy. You own a business. You own a park. What do you see as the top concerns, particularly from the business community, that the fiscal court could address?
We've touched on that. I mean, property tax. Property tax. I've always heard the cliche, and I've heard it mentioned on fiscal court. When they raise property tax, it's only it's a pizza. Well, for a business owner, it's the pizza truck. To be more business friendly, we have to get our taxes lowered. And of course, the only way to do that is bring in new revenue. The only way to bring in new revenue is to build.
Yeah. And where are we going to build?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, another issue that our employers are facing is workforce. And particularly since the pandemic, skilled labor is a major obstacle for employers. And it's not just in this community, it's nationwide.
It's nationwide.
So what can our local government do to help grow our workforce?
Oh, geez. Well, I don't know. I mean, it ain't just skilled workers. It's any worker. I mean, all businesses are struggling to get help. The little restaurant out there beside me, her hours before the pandemic was, 7 to 8, 8 p.m. And now she has to close at 5 because she can't get a cook.
Right.
She can't get no help.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that right now. I think it's all fallen. It's, with all of this money that they're giving out to everybody and to the communities and stuff and to the individuals, I don't know what the answer is. How do we, put people back to work?
Yeah.
You can't put a person to work if they don't want to work.
Right.
Another issue is a lot of people that are working from home.
Sure.
What does that do? That brings down the occupational tax. That's what the city's struggling with state government.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, in closing, and then I'm going to turn it over to you here in a minute, but are there any decisions or steps the fiscal court has taken that, looking back now, you would have done differently if you were on the court?
The only thing that I would do differently, more, studies are great, but implementing them is way too slow.
Yeah.
We need to speed the process up.
Okay.
And get things rolling instead of dragging our feet. That would be my big thing. That and I mean it's everything's moving like at a snail's pace when we really need to be jumping on the bandwagon and going now.
Okay. Great. Well, I am now going to let you speak directly to our viewers who are your voters, and you can tell them why you are the best person for this job and why they should vote for you.
All right. I think I'm the best candidate for this job because I have the business sense. We've been running the business going now for 35 years. For the last 20, I've owned the business along with my sister and my wife. I've got the business sense. I've got plenty of, I've lived here all my life. I've spent my whole life here along with my family. I want my kids, well, my youngest one, my other one's already grown, but I want my youngest child to want to stay in Frankfort and not go outside of Frankfort. And the only way to do that is we have to grow. We're going to have to push and get more family stuff in here so we can keep our families home. And I think I'm ready for that. I campaigned on this 4 years ago, and I'm still preaching it today. Without family, we have nothing. My dad used to always tell me, faith and family, everything else after that is extra. So for the people in District 3, I would ask that you vote for me on May the 17th, and I'll be your voice, not the county's voice to you.
Okay. And if people want to find out more about you, where can they go?
You can catch me on Facebook. It's Bo Sutherland for Magistrate. Post me a message there. You can call me. Is it okay if I give my cell phone number?
Absolutely.
My personal cell phone is 502-352-8793. Call me anytime. I'll talk to you. I'll come out and see you. And I'll see you out on the campaign trail.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank Frankfort Plant Board for giving this opportunity for
Absolutely.
us.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. We love doing it.
And it was nice meeting you, Kathy.
Thank you so much. Again, everyone, that is James Bo Sutherland. He is the candidate for magistrate in the 3rd District. And viewers, we want to remind you to get out and vote on May 17th for the primary, and then tune in to Cable 10 for live election results. It is election season, so we encourage you to get informed. That's why we do this. And then go vote, voice your choice. We'll see you next time.